Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of Freedom Friday here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host here, the Ohio Patriot, and for today's episode, we are going to discuss how Democrats lost big time in both Tennessee and Virginia. We will also be discussing about RINO piece of shit Vivek Ramaswamy, who stole the Ohio Republican nomination for governor this past Tuesday, and continued to lie his ass off on Wednesday during an interview, falsely claiming that Ohio was losing population when in fact we are gaining population since the 2020 census. So I also realized when I was fooling around with my Magpul hat today that apparently this hat is made in Vietnam. So yeah, shame on you, Magpul, an American-made company where you're making your merchandise in a third world country is what it is. You should be making it here in America using American workers. Also, the fact of the matter is, when you are having a hat that is produced in Vietnam selling for anywhere from $25 to $27 on Amazon, that's some bullshit, bro. Just to be clear, that's not what I paid for this hat. This hat was on sale like a month ago for like $13, and that's the only reason I picked it up at the time, obviously. So, I ain't paying that retail. For those interested too, by the way, today's episode of Freedom Friday is brought to you by Mike's Hard Strawberry Lemonade for when you just need that little kick of pain relief in a can. So, just to be clear, we're just going to say it right now as a pro-to organization. Do not ever mix drugs, alcohol, and guns. Unless, of course, your life is in danger and you just happen to be high or drunk at the time, but you're still going to be attacked. That's the only time I would say advocate for using a firearm in self-defense is what it is then. However, just make sure that you 100% are being attacked, because God forbid you end up getting railroaded like that. I remember having a conversation, this is about, 5 years ago now, maybe 4.5, something like that. This is back when I used to hang out Guns and Barbecue those guys before they showed their true colors. A bunch of turncoats is what it is. But anyway, so basically there was a conversation that was between myself, John, and then I believe it was Cobalt Flame. I think DJ Plitness was there at the time as well. This is obviously in the back chat. This originally happened, and then it became a stream later on as it was, like the next week around or whatever then. But yeah, it was like, yeah, it was at least the four of us there. That I can't remember if Krabby Turtle was there or not too. Or maybe it was Woods, I don't know. I feel like there was at least a fifth person there, but I can't remember. I think eventually maybe it was just the four of us discussing this whole thing. But basically what it came down to being was it was a discussion about how, and like I said, it began as a back chat. I think it was like a Thursday night or something like that, Friday morning. And then eventually it became like an actual, like, John's, like, Tuesday chats and after the fact or whatever it was there for the next week. So, but anyway, basically, going back to what I was saying, though, is you had the discussion come up of, okay, what if somebody was drinking at a place and, you know, eventually they happened to be armed heading home or whatever and had to pull a gun in self-defense, and that's basically what the scenario came about, is what it was there. It was an interesting one too, for that matter, and it was basically the legalities of, like, hey, like, should you be drinking and carrying kind of thing is what it is, which, I don't know, I feel like in general, I think the real problem with our society in general is what it is that when it comes to gun-free zones in this country, pretty much any liquor establishment, restaurant, bar, whatever you want to call it there is what it is. Almost all of them, if not mistaken, if not all of them, prohibit carrying if you're going to be drinking is what it is, which I'm not so sure that a lot of them don't prohibit the carrying of firearms, even if you're not drinking in the place, which is kind of bullshit, honestly, if you think about it, because, you know, that would, again, be a perfect place for somebody to go in and do a massacre on, is what it is, because you're creating a literal hotbed of a kill zone is what it is for them to go do their fucking sick, disgusting stuff. I mean, hell, look at Dayton in 2019 here is what it is. You had that fucking piece of shit Antifa motherfucker literally go into the bar district there in downtown Dayton and open fire on a bunch of people, knowing there was nobody armed to be a what do you call it? Immediate response to his massacre. Thank God the Dayton police were like there within the first minute is what it is. And everyone engaged him in a firefight is what it was then, ultimately killing him. And there's obviously been talk since then in the last almost 7 years now is what it is, because this August will be the 7th anniversary of that unfortunate tragedy. But yeah, in the almost 7 years since it happened now, there's been discussions if, in fact, some of the people that were shot and killed that night were actually not killed by the gunman himself, Connor Betts, if they were actually killed by some of the Dayton cops is what it is, because during autopsies, you had both 5.56 caliber wounds in their bodies, and you also had 9mm wounds in their bodies, which is what some of the cops were carrying that night, obviously. Whereas both the shooter and the cop and the main cop that killed his ass had AR weapons, is what it was. Specifically, he had, I believe it was an AR pistol he had made up, and then you had, there was, I believe the Dayton police officer just had a patrolman's rifle that was an actual rifle caliber length. AR rifle is what it was then. So, but yeah. Speaking of which, I ended up going to the gun shop today. Got myself a couple of new Loas for the uppers I had sitting around then. So I gotta say, man, those Delta Team uppers that I got recently, those things are fucking sweet. So even without like any kind of a angled forearm and stuff like that, they feel really good just holding on to them. So anyway, to answer the question that was just posted in the comment section, what are my thoughts on the little squeaky cheese disease? I can only assume that we were talking about the recent hantavirus stuff that came on the ship is what it is there. That is supposed to be the new, a lot of people are saying it's going to be the new lockdown kind of shit. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to push it like that, because first off, if it supposedly took place on a ship in the middle of an ocean where you can have it contained, why the fuck are you creating like 50 patient zeros by taking people off of that ship and putting them into the general public again is what it is? Like, that's just asinine as fuck, honestly, is what it is. So yeah, I think it's basically them trying to create something again now is what it is, which makes sense given, and we've seen this a bunch of times now. We saw it during 2020 presidency, that presidential race is what it is there. Now it will be the midterms here this year, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was a couple different factors relating to it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the Democrats currently in power. There are a lot of the ones behind it. I also wouldn't be surprised if it was the globalists, like your Soros types, and the people make up Bilderberg, whether it be Rothschilds, Rockefellers, whatever the case be there, that were the ones actually behind a lot of the stuff, maybe even the Bill Gates types of the world too, for that matter, because they're all part of Bilderberg as well. But yeah, they definitely are a bunch of scumbags. We know for a fact, like, they basically have shown their hand for decades now. That's why you had the Georgia Guidestones before they got blown up a few years ago now, where it basically talked about depopulation agendas and stuff on those things, and how there was going to be like X amount of people left in the world, and it was basically like this number of people is what they needed to have to be able to be completely controlled is what it was. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they would do anything and everything at this point to try to depopulate the society is what it is there. And I mean, hell, when you look at even the white erasure that we're seeing right now in society, you know, white people used to make up like 90% of the world is what it is, and now we make up roughly, I think it's like 7 to 9% currently is what it is, and dropping, unfortunately, because you have so many white genocides going on, especially over in places like South Africa is what it is there. And then you have these people that have come out in the past, 20, 30 years almost now is what it is. There's a woman back in the day, I think it was around, it's either like April or May or so of 2001. Her name was Barbara Specter, and she came out and was talking about multiculturalism and how it was basically her and other people that were trying to basically make these infestations of third world people into white nations is what it was, specifically European nations at the time, because they wanted to destroy Christianity is what it was. and replace it with Islamic center there. And you can see that now, 20-something years later, what it is now, like how much they've succeeded over there, and how, hell, you have Islam right now on U.S. soil that has maybe a 1% foothold in this country currently, and they're already trying to do like call to prayer shit in Times Square and stuff like that. Like it's completely psychotic is what it is, dude. So, but yeah, it's ridiculous what it is. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of stuff going on, and it kind of equates to what I was talking about here in the title today, which is obviously Democrats losing in Tennessee and Virginia both, because you had a bunch of stuff. We're gonna go to Twitter here in a minute. Is what it is. Obviously, you had yesterday. There was redistricting efforts in specifically Tennessee. You had pieces of shit that shouldn't even be in that General Assembly anymore, being Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, who should have been booted out for life back in 2023 when those assholes literally tried to pull anti-gun garbage after Covenant, which was a preventable tragedy as well, for that matter. And they were specifically, I believe 100% that they were bribed by Michael Bloomberg and Moms Made Action is what it is there. And they were using that tragedy to try to push gun control at the time then is what it was, and also make a name for themselves at the same time as what it was then. But during that time period, though, they were obviously pushing a bunch of nonsense too, for that matter. They were actively kicked out of the Tennessee General Assembly that day for trying to take over the state house floors of what was there. And then the problem was, my biggest gripe at the time was with I forget who the guy was that was the actual Speaker of the House of Tennessee during 2023's legislative season. That's what it was. But the problem with that dude was he didn't expel them and then have them arrested for deprivation under color of law is what it is, because they should have been arrested for deprivation under color of law. Had they been, they could have been banned for life from holding elected office ever again, is what it is then. And that alone would have stopped them from being able to be, simply just voted back in by these fucking retard. I think it was like county commissioners or something like that. What it was there, like, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think it was county commissioners or something, or maybe like a board of like city council or some crap. I forget exactly what it was. It was somehow they were voted back in though by a bunch of black supremacists. There is what it was, which makes sense given the fact that they're themselves black supremacists. What it is there. Hell, you look at Justin Pearson's whole bullshit cosplay for the past decade now is what it is. There's videos from like 2016 where he came out and was basically talking about communism crap is what it is, where he was all bald headed and stuff like that. And now the motherfucker looks like a Temu version of Malcolm X, basically is what it is in 2026. So he's a fucking joke for sure. And then he was trying to get in the face of cops yesterday, so what it is. We'll probably, if we can find out, we'll show it here in a minute. But yeah, that guy's just a complete fucking jag off is what it is then. So, and then, of course, TMZ got onto this one. This was that piece of shit Justin Jones yesterday taking a, what did he have in his hand? Here's what it was. It was a photo of a Confederate flag that he proceeded to then burn on the floor of the Tennessee House. There's what it is. Or sorry, not the floor. It was in the, what do you call this? The gallery area there is what it is. Which, mind you, I looked into this, how legality of that is what it is. The cops that were standing right there should have arrested his ass for arson and threats to public safety is what it is, because both of those things can be considered crimes at this point that he could be and should be charged with is what it is there. So, yeah, dude is literally burning U.S. history is what it is there, because I don't care if you like the Confederate flag or not, dude. It is quite literally part of the American history of this country. It is one of the flags that was around during the Civil War itself. And it's interesting when you look at piece of shit commie Marxists like Justin Jones, because these are the motherfuckers who are in league with people like Vanessa Soar, which, by the way, I want to point something out. Justin Jones, he should have never even been allowed to hold office all in this country anyway, because when you look back into 2020 and the lockdowns and then the riots that occurred after fentanyl Floyd's overdose is what it is, Jones was out in Nashville, Tennessee, literally trying to assault people, yank them out of vehicles, and beat the shit out of them as it was there. He should have been charged with those crimes at that point in history for terrorism, and he should have never been allowed to hold office ever in this country. So that right there is another strike against that dude. And the fact that, again, the Republican Party in Tennessee is still allowing this piece of shit 6 years later to hold office is absolutely ridiculous what it is, dude. Because not only should have been put out in 2023 for the shit he pulled then, he should never been allowed to be there in the first place what it is then. So, and I wouldn't be surprised, truthfully, if some of the dumbass people that were there yesterday bitching and moaning about, oh, we need black representation in Congress, actually think that Justin Jones is a congressman and not just the state rep is what it is. Or even Justin Pearson, for that matter, would be their congressman and not their state rep is what it is there, because they're bitching and moaning about the district that was redistricted yesterday is what it was there. That was a Democrat district that was basically a squiggly line, essentially, is what it was there. But yet they don't actually talk about how, I believe it is Steve Cohen is the guy's name. He's an old-ass white dude who has been in power in Congress for over 20 years now. So you have a bunch of black supremacists bitching about black representation while their congressman is literally a white man. Like, you can't even make this shit up, dude. It's fucking idiocracy in real time is what it is. It's so nonsensical. It's not even funny. It's just sad, honestly. It is. It really is sad. Sorry if my internet keeps dipping. I don't know what's going on with I think maybe it's the weather right now because we've been in storms all day is what it is. That's why I came home early today, because my cousin and I were going to go to the stores. Well, I should say went to the chiropractor, then we went to the gun shop is what it was. And it was raining during both those times that we went up there is what it was then. And by the time I got out of the gun shop, about 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later is what it was. Which I will say, I will give them one thing. Now that they have digitized their 4473s, dude, it takes so much fucking quicker time to do that stuff. Because it used to take me like 20, 30 minutes for them to like call it in and have it be the paperwork and stuff like that. Now that it's on the tablets and shit, it takes them like 10 minutes or so. Like, it's real quick. So, now granted, that being said, there wasn't a whole lot of people in there today. I think it was maybe like me and one other person buying a gun at the time or whatever then, but so it shouldn't have taken that long anyway. But even still, it's, even when I've been in there for previous times when it was like 5 or 6 people buying it, it was only like 15 minutes or so. So, but yeah, got my one horse lowers today, so that was fun. And they're a pretty good company for those that haven't checked them out. They're basically the new version of Anderson. That's, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you used to be able to buy a full Anderson lower. That was the everything completed there is what it is for around like a C note. Now this one's like that plus a, who's on the 50 if I'm not mistaken. Grant, I think, maybe. So yeah, that's what it would be, the extra is there. So it's like a little bit more than it should be, but it's still worth it, honestly. Especially when you can still, get everything else and then basically build a AR for under 4 bills is what it is. So, and have it be customized to how you want it to be is what it is there. So that's always fun. But anywho, so yeah, I had an interesting conversation too at the chiropractor about Big Pharma with some random woman that just started a conversation with me today. Yeah, she didn't realize I don't want to talk, but it was like whatever. Like, she just started talking to me about like Big Pharma stuff, and I told her about my health issues and stuff like that, and how it all relates back to good old Big Pharma fucking me over at 18 is what it was. So yeah, it's crazy to think that 23 years later, I've lived more than half my life in like a bad medical patient kind of situation because of one simple reaction medication of what is there. And yet I have no legal course to sue the fuck out of pharmaceutical companies of what it is there, which is absolute bullshit. Almost as much bullshit of me getting colon cancer from a different medication and not being able to sue the fuck out of that company being Humira. So anyway, but it is what it is. So I also found out recently that apparently ProMag is now making Taurus TX22 mags, and they're doing them as a 21 rounders. So, leave it at that basically. But yeah, I'll have to test that out at some point in the future then. See if it's any good. My cousin was talking to me about possibly going to one of our family members that has a little bit of land. We can do some target practice on. So I'd like to take my Taurus out there and test out the new 21 rounders, what it is then. So I also got a chance to see the actual new, most recent Taurus TX22 that's on the market right now, which is the I forget exactly what they call it, but it's actually pretty crazy looking because it has the mag extension on it or whatever to make it like a +5 or something. But it totally looks like a tactical 22, honestly. It looks like a battle ready 22. Because it also comes with Verdi and dot and stuff like that, but it's also like, I forget what I paid for my original one, but it's at least like twice that price now or something. So, but yeah. So, yep, and that's the problem right there. Which, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of that. That's what it is currently. So, anyway. Wow. So speaking of the insane shit that we are going to discuss today with the whole black supremacist thing is what it is here. You got this crazy black supremacist right here talking about openly hunting white people over the N-word. Like, good lord, buddy. Like, get a fucking life, dude. In another country. Seriously. Like, for real. For real. Let's see what else we got here then. Let's see, then we got this nutter right here saying, quote, "I'm sure it can't be that difficult to find the addresses of the Supreme Court justices of Virginia." So this guy's basically threatening terrorism on the Virginia SCOTUS is what it is. And then talked about protesting outside their homes. You know, they pulled that shit, what was it, 3 years ago? On the actual federal Supreme Court, which I don't understand. This one understand. Do people not understand that this is like federal crimes? Like it's literally felonies. And yet they were able to do it still under piece of shit Biden and Kamala. There's what it is. So, I don't know. I think people are going to fuck around and find out very quickly is what it is though, dude, because that's the thing. Like, maybe they won't get arrested today for this stuff, but they'll eventually get arrested for is what it is there, because you look into even what we see right now with the DOJ currently, you've had here in the past like month or so, they've arrested like at least 50 people that have done like terroristic threats online. Is what it is. They're all these leftist dipshits. What it is then. So, yeah, you know, you're gonna fuck around. You're gonna find out, dude. You know, I mean, hell, like, look back at my thing back in 2019 there, where it was a couple days after Dayton happened, and I had 2 fucking Fed boys show up to my house, is what it is then, over some bullshit I'd said in the video that I forgot was even in that video that I posted like months after I had filmed it, is what it was then, and forgot to even watch the damn thing. So, yeah. But that's the thing, they knew they had nothing on me at the time, so that's the only reason I ever got, you know, charged with anything. That's also why I can buy guns still, is what it is. So, it's actually funny when I was leaving the shop today with the lowers and stuff. The kid that was taking me up to the front there, because he wasn't the one that actually helped me fill out paperwork. It was an older guy. He ended up being the one to come back from. I think they did one on like break or something. What it was, and this guy was the one that came up with my lowers and was like, "Hey." I was like, "Yeah, I'm right here, bro." And then we were talking. He's like, "You're the one that bought a couple of these before, right?" And I was like, "Yep." And then I told him about, like, you know, the possibility of it being, you know, who knows if there's going to be an Islamic terror attack on the 4th of July or not. And I want to be able to arm up the complex, essentially, is what it is there, if it comes to that, which I don't think it'll come to that, but hopefully it won't come to that anyway. But, yeah. If anything, what it would be is I'd be handing specific people in the complex here different weaponry, and then we'd basically be caravanning it down to the first spot is what it is then, together. So it would just be everybody having each other's backs that I know I could trust in this area is what it is then, which is essentially trying to think now. I think I can trust the woman that was behind me now, but I'm not so sure how she leans politically as what it is there. But I know I can trust the other two dudes that live in the housing units here is what it is then. And then there's another guy in the first set of housing apartments there is what it is. So there's at least like 3 dudes I can trust for sure. And then I'm not 100% on these people on the other side over here is what it is. So, but there's other people that are definitely lower down further in different houses is what it is there that I definitely would never hand a gun to at all is what it is then. Like they'd be on their own is what it is. So, oh yeah? What was it? Also, I will say, because I know Maryland is like California, it's what, 7 days, 10-day waiting period? Crap, there's what it is. So unconstitutional, bro. But, yeah, just fucking, it's infuriating, man. Let's see what this is about right here. Going through X here. Got Wall Street Apes 4 hours ago saying this is the problem right here. Adam Finesco? Tries to have a conversation with a Latino girl who in Nashville that was born in America. No matter how many times he tries to get her to understand Americans are her people, she doesn't agree. She said her people are Mexicans, the people who look like her and have the same skin color as her. And this is what I've been talking about, by the way. If something ever does go down, we have like a second American Civil War. Here's what it is. That'll turn into basically tribalistic warfare very soon because you have shit like this right here's what it is. Where you have people that are like, oh, no, I'm not an American. I'm still, a Mexican, essentially, is what it is there. And they will side with Mexico, even though they're born here in America, is what it is there. And then goes on says, no matter how many times he tries to explain that, no, it's a nationality loyalty, not a race loyalty. She doesn't agree. She only sees Mexican. This is why immigration will end America. Our education system is failing. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to say on that one. I mean, it's definitely a bad deal all the way around there. So, let's see what else we got here. Looks like a bunch of good old YN behavior here on this one. Happened again. Now, 2 shopping malls in Houston, Texas have implemented a youth curfew after hundreds of so-called teens, which we can see from the race that they're not teens, they're a bunch of YNs, began fighting, screaming, punching, and throwing merchandise. When did this behavior become normal? Where are their parents? Well, so 2 things on that one to answer the first question. When did this behavior become normal? It became normal when we allowed ghetto black culture to take over American society. And that was about maybe, 40-ish years ago now. Really maybe more like 30-ish years ago now. Because it was back really in the 90s when you had the whole gangster rap stuff and everything else like that, which some could say differently on that one. But yeah, basically when you start having pieces of shit now in the 2020s, like your sexy red types and stuff like that, that'll sit there and talk about, literally sit there and rap about the color of their asshole and their pussy and have it be described as music and not just fucking ghetto trash and needs to be kicked the fuck out of the society. That's a lot of the problem right there. That's what it is, dude. And to add to the second question, or to answer the second question there, where are their parents? Well, most of these motherfuckers are raised by single mothers who are a bunch of welfare queens, while their ghetto-ass fucking fathers, who a lot of them have the same father in a lot of cases, they are all in prison. Or they're dead. One of the 2. And if they're not one of those 2 things, then there's a good chance that they're probably knocking up some other one. That's what it is right now. So, yeah. And that's the problem, dude. You have, and again, going back to what I've said before, not only in this chat, but also in other previous chats that it is here, when you go back to the communism, the Marxism, etc., being pushed into our school systems in this country, being pushed into specifically higher education is what it was many, many decades ago then. And you start looking at exactly how a lot of this erosion has happened, what it is there. That's exactly what's caused it. You had basically, it was in this somewhere between the 60s and the 70s is when you had the welfare system be implemented in this country. So you're talking about roughly 50 to 60 years ago, give or take now. And then you had that basically explode where it was the state coming in and being like, oh, you don't have a husband, right? Okay, cool. The government's going to be your baby daddy now is what it is. And they incentivize this stuff. And now you've had it go on for, 5, 6, 7 generations in some cases, what it is there, of the same families receiving this stuff. And it has basically led to the degradation of society in a lot of cases there, where you have these little pieces of shit having no respect whatsoever is what it is on anything. And you wonder why our society is crumbling now is what it is. You wonder why you have literally shopping malls in this country implementing quote unquote your youth curfews because they have to say youth curfew and not just, hey, you ghetto black pieces of shit over here, you fucking Hawaiians over here. No, you're banned for life from this fucking place is what it is. Which is what we're going to start seeing very soon, I think is what it is. Maybe not in that specific terminology. It would basically something like probably a no shoes, no shirt, no service, or other signs popping up everywhere where it's like, we reserve the right to refuse service to anybody kind of thing is what it is there. So, and it's kind of funny to me too, because one thing I was paying attention to this morning before I left to go do stuff was you had a bunch of idiotic idiots there on Twitter basically trying to equate everything going on with redistricting there in Tennessee to Jim Crow stuff is what it is. And yet, meanwhile, what they don't understand is if you actually start looking at the history that led to Jim Crow in this country, it's exactly what we're seeing now. It's a bunch of out of control motherfuckers thinking that they own the goddamn place and trying to fuck with people. And then it was those people that weren't going to be fucked with any longer that were like, no, fuck you. You're now out of this place. Get the fuck out of here. So it's just like how they try to equate Black Wall Street like it was some kind of fucking Wakanda bullshit or whatever the case be, or some fucking like actual New York City Stock Exchange kind of Wall Street there is what it is, when in reality it was, if you actually look into that whole thing, it was like an apple cart and then like I think a small grocery store, and there was like a what do you call it now? Not warehouse. Like a hardware store is what it was. I think it was like a hardware store, a grocery store, an apple cart, and like 2 or 3 other things on that little strip of a street there is what it was. And that's what basically Black Wall Street was back in the 1900s. There's what it was. And that's what was actually taken out by the Klan at the time. Then obviously what was there, which is ironic given that when the KKK history is what it is, then you actually have the same fucking Democrat Party that created the Klan in the 1900s there, created BLM in the 2010s. So, anyway. Oh, you got the Taurus RPC. That's cool. I really wanted one of those, but I could not justify the price of them, brother. So, yeah, if they were about half that price that they were charging for MSRP, I'd be like all over that thing. But yeah, I'm not paying, because I think the one version without the side folding stock is what it was. I believe was like $1,000 or pretty close to $1,000, and the other one was like $1,100 or $1,200 with the freaking side fold. I'm like, yeah, there's no way, bro. So now, granted, it could be way less than that. The thing, I don't even think FFL has any of those in right now. Is what it is. So, but yeah. So anyway, Jesus Christ, dude. Mayor Brandon Scott just named a street in Baltimore, Maryland, Tupac Way. I guess they could have also named it after George Floyd. That would probably be about cool, honestly. So, freaking. How is this ass clown still in office, dude, is my question. Like, what a complete moron, dude. Let's see what this next one is here. Let's see. Single mom of 3 daughters, 2 dogs, 1 cat, just announced she's officially homeless next week. Claims both cars are dead. One she wrecked, flipped front, front end ripped off. The other won't start, brakes, grinding, rotors. No job for a year and a half because her split dye hair, quote, scares employers in customer service. I don't know why. She looks fine to me, honestly. Let's see now. See, priority number 1, register all the pets as emotional support animals. GoFundMe in bio, even $1 helps, is what she claims. Can't work 12s, no daycare. This isn't bad luck or universe testing her. It's textbook poor life choices, is what this guy here said. Says kids plus menage of pets become stable income or savings. 0 car maintenance plus reckless driving, a professional look that tanks job prospects, victim mentality instead of grinding. Quote, strong moms don't wait for donations while blaming hair color policies. They make hard decisions before all collapses. Yeah, exactly. Again, I don't really understand because I mean, shoot, like, dude, customer service, like, I can see her being a cashier or a waitress, whatever the case be, like, any of that stuff would be fine. Even as like a receptionist or something like that, I've seen chicks like that before that have that same kind of coloration of the hair. So yeah, it sounds to me like this bitch is just not wanting to work as what it is there and just trying to blame everybody else a little bit then. So anyway, but let's see what's going on with this one. Apparently 5 hours ago, you had Marxist influencer Hassan Piker is facing calls to be visited by the FBI. I don't understand how this fucker is even still out of prison right now, dude, with the amount of terroristic shit he said in the past, like 6 months or so. Like, you should have been charged with multiple counts of terrorism at this point, honestly, and been put out of this country forever is what it is then. But yeah, said visited by FBI after he appeared to urge violent revolution at the Virginia Supreme Court, striking down an illegal 10 Democrat to 1 Republican House map. And this is Eric Gassé. He said the trash wants the downfall of our society. Of course they do, dude, because that's what Islam's entire endgame is to literally destroy America from the inside out and implement their bullshit. Fucking Sharia law crap is what it is then. So I'm not even going to bother reading what this says. Obviously, I'll repost this for anybody that wants to check it out. They're on X is what it is. So. But yeah, Piker should have already been dealt with accordingly is what it is there. And of course, you got 2 hours ago, you had this Midas Touch account claiming Tennessee just erased its only majority black district, paving the way for a 9-0 Republican congressional delegation. Oh, you mean like the 9-0, 10-0, 12-0 ones that exist in a bunch of Democrat-led states like Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, what else is up in there? New York State, et cetera, et cetera. And then continued on and said Florida, Alabama, and Louisiana are following suit, as they should. So the playbook is simple. Pretend race has nothing to do with it while systematically stripping black communities' representation because race has nothing to do with it. SCOTUS literally deemed race-based districts unconstitutional because they fucking are, dude. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Latino, Asian, whatever the case be. What matters is fair representation across the board. And no, you shouldn't have black congressmen, Asian congressmen, white congressmen, Latino congressmen, etc., just because the district is majority of that thing. That's what it is. So, and then continuing on with the end thing that said here, it said one Tennessean lawmaker was asked if he knew Memphis is predominantly African American. His answer: I am not. Nice. Nice. So he's basically saying, yeah, I'm white, motherfucker. Eat a dick. So that's hilarious. Gotta love it, bro. So, but again, it shouldn't matter, honestly, dude. Like, it really shouldn't. Let's see, then you had, going back to stuff here, you had this dude here saying, I wish black folks, and meant this, had this much energy toward Democrat representatives who want to replace them with illegal aliens, but this is hilarious. Yeah, it's like some dude's getting in somebody's face. There's what it is. So, I'm not going to play that whole clip, obviously. It's like 2 minutes. So, I'll probably watch that later on my own, just to, what you call it. I might talk about it later in like a grand scene or something, too, for that matter. Okay, well, we're going to show this video here just because of how crazy this thing is. I think this is one of, I don't know if this, I was going to say this is one of these one wheels, but I think it's something else, actually. So, it's like some kind of motorized, like, unicycle, essentially. Dude, that'd be scary as fuck. Like, my balance is already shit, man. Like, there's no way I wouldn't be falling off that thing on those bumps. So, the answer is fuck no, I'd never be riding one of those things. But I will watch the girl with a nice ass ride one of them as when it's there. So, because you all know me, still the same OG. All right, we got to see this one here. Got some more prom stuff going on. For those that haven't watched a bunch of these recently, most of them are just YNs floating around a bunch of cash is what it is, which I looked on Amazon today. And apparently you can buy fake like prop money for like teaching kids how to count and stuff like that. And it's literally like big old stacks, like hundreds and fifties and stuff like that, for like 10 to 15 bucks, honestly. And I'm almost wondering if that's not what some of these people are carrying around and like flashing around is what it is then. So, wow. What the hell is with those shoes, man? Like, why are you not wearing either heels or flats, lady? Yeah, that just seems crazy. Like, who wears tennis shoes with a dress, dude? Like, that's just silly ass shit right there. What it is. Going full circle around back to piece of shit Vivek again. We got this most recent one here, where a new video coming out. Vivek Ramaswamy is asked what his favorite place in Mahoning Valley is, clearly has no answer, and word salads his way into saying Cuyahoga National Park is his favorite place in Youngstown. And this fucking piece of shit scamming asshole was able to somehow take billions in a big pharma scam back in the day, with his mother's help being a fake IPO drug is what it was at the time for Alzheimer's. Then the two of these assholes, after making it rich, then proceeded to have Vivek be part of the COVID lockdown stuff on the board, where he proceeded to get over $2.2 billion more dollars through Moderna's COVID death shots. And yet this fucker has not been arrested for various crimes that he's all committed, is what it is there, dude. He wants to be the governor of the state in a couple of months. Fuck that. Fuck him. This is exactly why Monday morning I will be working on the paperwork to begin a amendment to the state constitution as a ballot issue to completely abolish state government, because there's no way I'm letting this cocksucker Orme Act never take over and become governor of the state. And if anything, I'm going to be looking into ways to potentially disqualify both these assholes and force a new primary to happen as a special election come August. So, Yeah, enough is enough of this bullshit, dude. Fuck this motherfucker. Anyway. So apparently somebody created a muscle shirt to make it look like you're all jacked. That's funny. Post that one in the Discord. Yeah, let's see. We got the one guy who played a serial killer in Dexter back in the day. Trying to be relevant again. Claiming things are getting so grave, it's getting harder and harder to make fun of the subject without feeling like you're normalizing it. Very worried about America. Well, maybe you should out the rest of the pedophiles there in Hollywood, buddy. And it'd make you feel a lot better then. I say rest because obviously John himself is 100% child molester is what it is there. So, anyway. Let's see, what is this one here? Let's see, if you're white and mispronounce the words of invaders from third world countries, you're supposedly a racist. Well, maybe it's because we need to kick the fucking turd out of our first world is what it is, bro. So, and no, nothing is racist when all these fuckers want everything to be as what it is. Holy shit. So, man. For those wondering what I was, calling over, I just popped up in the feed from yesterday. That girl's got to be at least an F cup, if not bigger than that even. Man, she really needs to put on a bigger shirt than that for sure. Because that is just pure cleavage right there, man. So. All right, what else we got going on here now? Let's see, we got some crazy leftist woman claiming we are ready for a civil war against MAGA. MAGA won't know what hit them. You do realize that most Republican voters who fall into the MAGA/America First category there, lady, are heavily fucking armed. I literally own at least 7 ARs right now that are ready to roll at any given time. Not to mention a bunch of other stuff for that matter. So, yeah, pretty sure you're not ready to deal with the backlash that will slap you right in the face is what it is there. If y'all try to do a civil war against the rest of us. So, maybe just sit down and shut up there, Karen. Also, didn't even realize that until now. Nose ring theory on that totally checks out. So, why is it always septum piercings, dude? Seriously. I swear to God, like, this particular septum piercing these people have, dude, it's like whenever they click it into place, it, like, pops brain fluid through the little cartilage piece or something like that is what it is, and just starts leaking out. So a little brain capacity they had before, that's just all gone now is what it is. So, who knows? Anyway. Okay, this one's about 40-ish seconds here. We will watch this one. This is pretty interesting. It says, imagine being so entitled you see a snack basket left out for exhausted delivery drivers and decide to treat it like your personal grocery store. Not once, not twice. They kept coming back over and over until they cleaned the entire thing out. People try doing something kind for hardworking drivers, and this is what happens. The audacity is unreal. It's a chick looks like she needs more snacks. Yeah. So let's see. You got a big old girl and the guy. Fucking bums. Of course they do, man. Like, why would you stop? You know. I mean, only one of you's got a handful of shit at that point, obviously. Fucking disgusting, dude. You know what this shit reminds me of? It reminds me of all those Halloween videos where you have the people just come up there and it's like a bowl of candy. It says like, please take one or whatever, and they just take the whole fucking bowl is what it is. Dude, that's so messed up. Like, they came back 4 different times to grab stuff. Jesus. Fucking ass people, man. Although, to be fair, how many fucking deliveries is this person getting? They're putting out like a whole ass snack tray for these people is what it is. So, speaking of going back to speaking of Tennessee, though, you got this crazy bitch right here in the Tennessee Senate. Fucking disgusting, dude. Let's see. Yep. We could have had Casey Putsch, bro. We should have had Casey Putsch. And I do want to point that out too, by the way, for those that don't know. With Casey's campaign here, this dude had $120,000 for his entire campaign in the past 5 months or so, since he was in the race for the governorship. Vivek had over $20 million in the coffers that, as far as I'm aware, he used every single dime of. You had Casey, who ended up with, let me go ahead and see the actual final totals now that we can go to the Ohio primary results recently is what it'll be here. Because I know Casey had over 140,000 votes, is what it is there. So let me see if I can find the actual Secretary of State election results. Here's what it'll be. Now, granted, these haven't been certified just yet. I think it's not going to be until like the 15th or so, which would be next Friday. Might even be the 20-somethingth, like 2021st, something like that. It'll be. It's usually a couple weeks after the election. Then it'll be. I believe it'll be by the end of May for sure, though. So, man, this is taking forever for this to load up for some reason. Come on, Secretary of State's things. Give me the freaking results. Jesus Christ, man. I guess that's what happens when you have like one server at your fucking deal is what it is. Obviously, I make jokes, but for real though, if you look back in Ohio history, it was during the 2020 lockdowns. You had dumbass DeWine tell everybody, "Oh, go to the website for the Ohio governor or for the Ohio government," and it was literally a single server in like a random room someplace that could not handle the overload that was being thrown at it. So it kept getting like basically DDoS attacked every single day. Is what it was. People were trying to log in there. Is what it is. And it wasn't until these tech illiterate retards realized, like, oh shit, we're old and out of touch. Like, let us go find some young people to actually fix the stuff. They hired a bunch of IT guys then that brought in like 20 or 30 servers is what it was then to actually fix the problem there is what it was. So, but anyway, but yeah, going back to what I was saying there, you had Putsch who basically got over 140,000 votes, including mine on Tuesday. Dude spent less than $1 per vote, while Vivek, if he did blow through all the 20 million or so that was in the coffers at the time, he potentially spent over $20 per person for what he actually ended up with, which was like 650 something thousand votes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is going nowhere for some retarded ass reason now. Oh wait, now here it finally came up now. You don't need to understand unofficial results. Just give me the fucking results, people. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. All right, fuck it. Let me go find. See if there's another. Thing that may have the actual results here that it is then. Okay. Yeah, so here's an unofficial total. This was from a couple of days ago. I'm not sure if this is still the same total or not, if there's been more of an update to that since then or not. But basically, you had Putsch with 143,257 votes, or 17.5% of the vote, on 120 grand in the coffers, by the way. I want to point that out. Versus Vivek with $20 million, got 673,902 votes. This dude couldn't even, like, seriously, you have Ohio that has roughly 12 million residents in it right now, 8 million of which can be registered to vote right now. And this motherfucker, and I'm pretty sure there actually is like around 8 million voters actually right now in the state of Ohio, this motherfucker couldn't even crack 700,000, burning $20 million. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? It's insane. Absolutely psychotic. I mean, honestly, like at this point, it could very well be too that Ohio just flips blue under Acton is what it would be then, and then we could just disqualify her ass and pepper out of the governor and lieutenant governor's offices there as unqualified candidates or something like that. What would be then, or unqualified for office, unfit for office, or we're going to say at that point then, impeach their asses that way, what would be then. And then you basically would just have the Senate president, whoever that becomes now, because currently it's that Rob, who is Vivek's VP. You could have had whoever's going to take over that particular seat of power is what it is, then be appointed. You will have him or her potentially could be governor for like 4 years as it is then. I do want to point something else out too, though, which I thought was interesting today. So with roughly 7 months left in his political position of power as current state AG, Dave Yost has now announced yesterday that he is leaving the AG's office, and now you're going to have Dickhead DeWine, the man who caused Vax-A-Million murder scam that happened to become my mother at that point in history. You have this motherfucker being able to now appoint an AG for 7 months is what it is. It's like, dude, what is even the point of that? Like, either have a special election where we the people decide an AG for 7 months, or here's a wild idea. We just don't have an AG for 7 months, and the person that is the current lieutenant AG or deputy AG, whatever it is at that point, then they just take over for fucking 7 months is what it is then. Like, is that not how that works? Like, there's a reason that you have people in that position, dude, like, to where they could just step up into the fucking attorney general's office if they need to, is what it is. Like, what's the point of appointing somebody when you could just have the person that was under the AG become the AG is what it is then. So, yeah, it's just fucking nonsense is what it is. Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike DeWine announced himself as AG and then dropped out of the governor's office to give Jim Trowell like 7 months as governor or something like that would be done. That would be kind of funny, honestly, if that did happen. I mean, hell, knowing him in the past, announcing Houston as the U.S. senator or whatever at the time then, when he was lieutenant governor, like, you could just do that with Trussell too, for that matter. Be like, hey, Jim Trussell, you're now AG, and then we just have a new lieutenant governor again. That's what it is. Fucking musical chairs, bro. I mean, honestly, well, actually, I don't know, because I was gonna say technically, if DeWine wanted to, we could actually have, I think it's Robert Spears right now, who was running for the Attorney General's office. He could be technically named as Attorney General. The problem is, though, is I'm not mistaken, he currently still is either auditor or treasurer is what it is there for the end of the year, till the end of the year is what it'll be then. So if you happen to want to appoint him right now into a position, potentially he'd win in the fall, then is what it is. Then you would have to have another person be appointed into another position after that's what it is then. So it would be a whole clusterfuck. So I'm assuming it's going to be something where the person that would be appointed in a position for 7 months is what it is probably just going to be like some deputy director in the AG's office or something. That's what it'll be then. So who knows? Either way, it's fucking stupid. And like I said, I don't understand why Dave Yost couldn't have been like, hey, come January 1st, 2027, I'll be doing this over here now is what it is. And just wait another 7 months is what it'd be then. So, I mean, that being so, we could also just have a state rep for 7 months be Attorney General what it is then. So, I don't know. Either way, it'll be interesting to see, though. See what else we got here for dystopian stuff. I think we'll finish off with this for the day, actually, because I think we pretty much talked about everything else already. You had the Virginia Supreme Court obviously deemed the Democrats' bullshit scam unconstitutional. Now you got a bunch of leftist terrorists trying to threaten the Virginia SCOTUS members. And then you had, obviously, Tennessee did what they needed to do and kick these stupid motherfuckers out of the thing and do a different district is what it is there. I'm actually really disappointed with Ohio not jumping on the bandwagon then and just doing our districts again is what it is then, dude. Because you cannot sit there and tell me that the specific district right now that Joyce Beatty represents for Columbus area, which I believe was the 3rd district, I want to say, but I could be wrong about that one. It might be the 4th. That shit's not race-based as hell what it is there, dude. Where's a bunch of blacks picking some black woman's what it is there. So, anyway. But yeah, we got this one. It was Walmart has begun rollout of new AI-powered visual recognition software for produce lookup at self-checkout stations. All you have to do is place a piece of produce on the self-checkout. System will automatically recognize the item and ask you to confirm. The system will be expanded into all U.S. stores. That is disturbing, dude. That is really fucking disturbing. Okay, so what's interesting there, though, is it didn't technically recognize that as a green pepper. It recognized it as a pepper because you had the choices of green pepper, red pepper. I think that's an orange pepper. And then there's a couple different like jalapenos and stuff on that there as well. So you still have to pick the actual kind of pepper is what it is there. So the AI is only good enough to recognize it's a pepper is what it is. It's not good enough to recognize it's an actual green pepper is what it is still. Either way, that's some scary shit right there, dude. Oh my God. We are fucked. We are fucked as a society. I mean, not all the way yet, just because of the fact, if you look at there was a video that came out the other day. It was 2 or 3 delivery bots that couldn't figure out the shitty sidewalk situation, and they literally got stuck like halfway through there where you had to have people come through and like knock them up a fucking thing to where the sidewalk was uneven like that, basically. And so they could keep rolling as it was then. So, yeah, no good. No good, though, either way. But, yeah, I think we're definitely heading towards a very bad time in this country's history. That's what it is there. So you got this one. Vivek Ramaswamy was just caught lying, stating Ohio has a population decline. His father chose not to become an American citizen. I don't know if he actually chose not to become a citizen. I think he was just too dumb to actually pass for citizenship tests what was there. This continues on. So they met with Modi 2 weeks before Vivek declared his candidacy for Ohio governor. It's not hard to see his ties to a foreign government and their agenda. And this is exactly why Vivek's ass should be kicked out of the governor's office kicked out the governor's race entirely is what it is there, dude. Is that kind of stuff alone right there is what it is. Because dude is a fucking foreign agent for India is what it is there, man. And I would say the same exact thing with Amy Action for that matter. When she has openly declared all kinds of unconstitutional shit and made false claims of what she do as governor, which, by the way, is a crime and a disqualification. I forget exactly what the actual revised, I believe it is the U.S. revised code, if I'm not mistaken, that basically says you cannot say you're going to do something in a position of power that you do not control what it is there. And that's unfortunately something we do not actually, as a country, enforce the way we need to, because every single person that's done this shit in the past, whether it be Trump himself or whether it be anybody else for that matter, that's like, oh, as president, I'm going to do this, or as governor, I'm going to do this kind of stuff, or whatever it is there, dude. It's like, no, you just disqualify yourself from the race, motherfucker. Get the hell out is what it is. You're no longer in this race now. End of fucking story. So, anyway. I think this is one of Tim Pool's people, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you had this retard named PM Arizona claim, he is alive and well in Tennessee. The sergeant at arms blocks Representative Justin Pearson from entering a committee meeting about redrawing a map specifically for the district he represents. Fucking shameful. And as this lady woman pointed out, she said, this is so irresponsible. Sergeant at arms, the Tennessee legislator, is not the KKK, and Justin Pearson is not on the Congressional Redistricting Committee of Exploratory Session 2. Yeah, that's exactly why he wasn't allowed in the fucking chamber, you stupid bitch. Fucking ass people, man. I swear to God. So. Yeah, I'm not sure who this Gunther Eagleman jerk-off is, by the way, but this guy has been one of these people on Twitter for like the past couple of years now. Who's really getting on my fucking nerves is what it is, bro. Him and this Miak Cook bitch are fucking evil, man. Because she was the one pushing Vivek's ass, and then he restated her bullshit. So, wake up, Ohio. She is 100% right. This is your warning shot. Democrats are fired up, energized, and flooding the polls. They smell weakness, and they're coming hard for the Buckeye State. If conservatives stay home, thinking Ohio is red, we're good. We will lose this state piece by piece until it turns into another Michigan or Pennsylvania. No, the fuck we won't, dickhead. Because number one, as I've stated in this entire fucking episode today, for the past hour, Ohio, unlike these other states, actually has a little something called Article 1, Section 2 of our state constitution, which allows the people here in Ohio to do a ballot issue, or anything else for that matter. I'm going to do a couple different ways, actually. I think the easiest one to do is ballot issue, though, where we can literally abolish the entire state government and create a new state government, which is what should have already happened like at least 10 years ago, just based on the amount of corruption that's been in the General Assembly here for at least the past decade or more now is what it is. So, which most of us do with all the chamber jumping motherfuckers that keep wanting to do fucking flip-flops since 2014 there and be termed out of the state house and jump to the state senate, or be termed out of the state senate and jump to the state house is what it is. Which is exactly why Matt Huffman is still in power right now, which is exactly why Casey Weinstein is still in power. It's exactly why people like Cecil Thomas are still in power here. It's because they've all chamber jumped is what it is. They were all termed out. They should have been kicked the fuck out of office for good at least 1 to 4 General Assemblies ago. But because they were able to find some bullshit loophole that was in that 2014 legislation that needs to be reiterated and taking that loophole the fuck out of is what it is there. They keep chamber jumping and keep remaining in power for career politician stuff is what it is there, dude. Which, by the way, that entire term career and politician should not exist together. Because you should not have a career in politics. You should be a civil servant that gets into office, stays there for 4 to 6 years or so, give or take, maybe a little bit longer, and then gets the fuck out and goes back to a regular 9 to 5. You should be wanting to come forward and be a good person that wants to help fix the problems of your country, do that stuff, and then move the fuck on after that. And that's the problem with so many of these people, is they're not civil servants. They are fucking piece of shit leeches who want to sit there and spend 20, 30, 40 years of their lives getting taxpayer-funded fucking paychecks and being able to take vacation wherever the fuck they feel like it and screw the rest of us over is what it is then. And I'm sick and tired of it. I know everybody else is too, for that matter. And that's exactly why you saw what you saw in the primary recently. That's why you saw almost 20% of the voter bloc back Casey Putsch is what it is, because we're fucking sick and tired of the goddamn establishment is what it is. It keeps fucking us over constantly, day after day, year after year, month after month, week after week, etc. There's what it is. Especially when it's the same piece of shit establishment that would rather sit there and embezzle and commit all kinds of fucking fraud crime than actually do their damn job in dealing with the potential of an Islamic terror attack on our country's soil from the 4th of July this year is what it is. You know, there's a reason why I bought 2 more lowers this morning, dude, because I'm literally worried for a terrorist attack on this country's soil. And if worse comes to worse, I want to be able to prepare and be ready to deal with that threat and be able to arm the people around me to help me deal with that threat is what it is. So, anyway. That's about it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll be back some point tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure when because I didn't get a chance to go to the store today. Obviously, I'm going to go tomorrow afternoon at some point. There's what it'll be. So it'll probably be, if I do a Slicey Boy Saturday at all, it'll be later on in the afternoon, probably around this time, honestly, where it's like evening time or whatever. If nothing else, maybe I'll just wait until Sunday and just do one. That's what it is. So, man, freaking, I can tell the weather's messing up on me because my arthritis in my hand right now is hurting so bad right now. That's what it is. Could also be, too, the fact that I was doing stuff earlier where I was putting together, because I got a new lower. Obviously, I put the upper on, that's what it was then, and I was putting some other stuff on there. Then I had to put, I was putting in place a QD detachment piece is what it is, to take a swivel off there for the 2-point slings, what it'll be. And I was also doing a space to do what do you call those things now? An angled foregrip on it then as well that I got in recently. Which, by the way, I will say those like Magpul-ish ones are really nice if you have a M-lock handguard is what it is there. If you don't have an M-lock handguard, though, then you got to get a piece of rail and put a bunch of other stuff together, and then you flip on the one over is what it is then, which is not bad either, but it does add weight to the gun, which I will say with just that slim handguard there is what it is then. I mean, this upper was already pretty light, and I just don't have the only thing I don't have on it right now is any kind of optic of any sort, which will definitely add weight to it for sure. But yeah, I will say, like, with just the rifle and bare iron sights and stuff like that, dude, it is really, really fucking light. So hopefully it's a good shooter. I'll be testing it out here in the next probably couple of weeks or so. I'm going to do a fishing trip here in a couple of weekends. So I might just take it with me down to my aunt's place and see if she's cool with me just firing off like a mag or so stuff while I'm down there. There's a couple different spots we can set up at that wouldn't be an issue for backstops is what it is there. But yeah, I definitely want to shoot some guns is what it is. But anyway, till later. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Always be caring. Always be situationally aware. Always be ready for anything, especially as we get closer to the 4th of July this year. Because you never know what's going to happen. You never know if it's going to be something's going to happen or not there, man. But honestly, I'll tell you right now, If I was any of these haters from other countries, man, they hated this country, and you were able to infest this country and be all sneakily in here and stuff like that, dude. Whether it be Hamas terrorists, whether it be ISIS, whether it be anything else for that matter, that is a bunch of Taliban types or whatever the case be, a bunch of Islam followers of any kind. You know, who knows how many sleeper cells are in our country right now is what it is, dude, even per state for that matter. So, yeah, I could easily see these fuckers planning something right now, and their goal is 4th of July this year is what it is then, and they just have something there is what it is, where they just get the activation code that morning or something is what it'll be then. And it's just stages of terror attack throughout that entire day is what it'll be then. So, and like I said, if Trump was a good president right now, he would have already dealt with this shit. He would have already had literal military vets as quick react forces taking out these cells right now and announced that publicly is what it is then. So, I mean, granted, it could still be happening behind closed doors. We just don't know about it, but I don't think it is, honestly, dude. Because I think this dude's is more invested in making himself more rich is what it is there and more powerful and stuff than actually helping out the American people is what it would be then. And the same thing with Vance and company as well, too, for that matter. Like, they're fine. They got their fucking bunkers and shit like that. You know? But what do the rest of us have? We're all fucked. Seriously. So, anyway. But yeah, on that note, though, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. And I may or may not be back, like I said, tomorrow for Slicey Boy Saturday. If I am, we'll do probably a folding knife review of DC-53 knives that is there. I will say I want to do an update real quick on that, though, before I leave today. The Mossberg, wait, was it Mossberg? Mossy Oak. Was it Mossy Oak? Yeah, it was Mossy Oak. Whatever that black D2 that I got recently was, that has the window breaker on it and stuff like that. I think it's a Mossy Oak one. I was using that today in the bedroom there to open up stuff that was relating to different accessories for my AR and whatnot. And I gotta say, man, that thing, whew, that blade is sharp as shit. So, yeah, that D2 steel is very, very good on that one. I can testify that knife is definitely worth its price tag right now of like the $30-ish that it costs or so. So, anyway. But, yeah. Other than that, though, like I said, I will be back most of the day tomorrow afternoon with another Slicey Boy Saturday. If we don't do Slicey Boy Saturday, we'll definitely do Slicey Boy Sunday. That's what it is. And we'll do, like I said, we might do 2 different ones where it's like 20 minutes a piece or so. It'll just be back to back on top of each other. There's what it is, where you got one that's, 2:30 to 3 o'clock, and then the other one's like 3 to 3:20 or something. That's what it is. So, but anyways, till later. I will see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a good rest of your Friday night. And like I said, always be ready, always be situationally aware, and always know who your enemy is and how to defeat them. Later, y'all. Peace out.